Okay, we should be fixed, maybe? Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry. Yeah, that's a technical issue that would have bit me in the butt later. Okay, well, I'm glad that's fixed. I appreciate it. So, I guess what I was just yapping about, in silence was this, find and parse function. I was talking about how fire ring lifetime multiplied by firing damage multiplier, would display, like, a time in seconds, but that time technically won't be like in decimals. So I was like discussing last week how like I wanted to display decimal places, when realistically that's not actually going to happen because the lifetime and the damage multiplier are both integers. So I've decided that for find and parse, we're probably just going to make it so this doesn't convert to like a formatted string with decimal places. Like, I don't know, I'm debating it. So if I go to standard, where did I write this? Standard format. Yeah, so I wrote a .2 here, which I don't think is quite what I want, because I think this means that it will display 2 characters no matter what. But I can confirm. So let me open up my example project and go to just like write a quick little standard format out. And let's just say standard format. Go ahead and write :2. So this was like how it originally was written in my game. I would have like 4.567 or something, right? And when we run this, it should display 2 numbers. Like that's kind of what that syntax represents. So if we look at the output, it prints out 4.6. It looks like it even takes the chance to round the number for us, which is fascinating. I don't know if I like that behavior either. But like, what happens if we have a larger number on this side, like 497.567, right? How does that look? So we can see here now, it's like doing 5e plus 02, so it's basically printing out like 5,000, and I'm just like, what? Or excuse me, 500 in 2, it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, this isn't quite the format I think I want to achieve. So let's go over here and let's try and see if we can do this proper. So first I'm going to look at standard formats, format specifier. Now apparently when I look at, oh, this looks cool, standard format cheat sheet. I kind of like this. So formatting functions, let's say table of contents. The table of contents is linked here. Okay. So what I'm looking for is like how to parse like float numbers, like decimals. Let me see. Oh, okay. So here we have precision. So :15.2f. So the width, there's a width and a precision. Width and precision. Interesting. What's with all the anime backgrounds and stuff? So I used to be like a big OG Love Live fan. So yeah. That's why I have like the rotating wallpapers of Nico, because that was one of my favorite characters from that anime. And I just kind of let it stick. So the width, I guess that's really it. So as long as we specify, like, I kind of don't like that it's just like a fixed number. I'd rather it just be like arbitrary. I don't know if there's a better way to handle that. Like, what I would really like is the whole number to be displayed completely, and then the decimal part to only be formatted to, like, one place, right? So I think we would, like, kind of customize this a little bit to our liking. Like, to only take the integer part of it, we can cast to an int, and that would be one part of it. So, like, say we had a float number, like, we'll probably turn this into a function, right? So we have, like, a float, we'll just call it decimal number, and we'll just go ahead and put this in here. And then what I would like to do is say, first we would take the integer portion. Integer part, which is just casting it. That will not round or anything. So that would be the first part, right? This does an implicit cast, so I can actually write that. Hi there, do you use Linux? No, I'm actually using or developing on Windows 11. Yeah, this is Windows. You can see I can pull up the start menu here. I just have my Visual Studio highly, like, modified. I get that question a lot because my Visual Studio looks very different. I like to kind of maximize the coding space so I can see all the code. And then the decimal portion. So to get the decimal portion, I can just take the decimal number and subtract it from the integer part in order to get the decimal place itself. And then I guess from there we would do this, and that would give us the amount of decimal places we'd be interested in. I do have some computers with Linux Mint. I find it pretty good. I've actually been experimenting with Lubuntu lately, which is like, I guess, light Ubuntu is what it stands for. But yeah, it's been an interesting experience. So, but I do like Linux Mint a lot. That's definitely one of my favorite distros as well. Out of like all the distros I've been trying, like Linux Mint is definitely up there. I used Ubuntu for my mother's casino PC. Yeah, it's like, it's very good, especially for like the older laptops, I would say. It's very nice. So yeah, then we get the decimal part, which would be like everything if we subtract decimal number from integer part, or integer part from, right? No, decimal number from integer part would give us only the decimal part remaining. And then from there, we would say, okay, we have two parts, and then we would just display both separately, right? And I think that's the best we're going to be able to do to get it to display how we want, because I don't, at least according to what I read up here, unless I write my own formatter anyway, it doesn't look like I'm going to get the formatting I want just from the options available here. How do you do QA on this? So I usually have unit tests for my game. So I have we have like 251 unit tests, and I'll probably add one here when I make this function just to make sure, you know, it works as expected. So basically every time I build my game, I just run the unit tests and make sure they all still pass. And that gives me a good overview of whether or not I've broken something. Because they test all the critical parts of the game, at least like game engine wise. I don't really write any tests for like graphics stuff, because I figure if it's a graphics glitch, we're probably gonna catch it in the game anyway. But as long as like the fundamental systems are working, then I can be pretty confident that the game at least is trying to work as intended. So that gets us like 80 to 90% of the way there to making sure the game works as we expect. Do you have any manual processes? Oh, well, my game designer, he does play it often, because, like, obviously he's kind of designing the game, so he plays it often to figure out if it's, like, meeting what he wants. And then my game's music composer, he also plays a lot, because he actually genuinely enjoys the game and wants to help playtest it, of course. And he also gets his wife to playtest it too sometimes, so I have a few folks that help me out here and there, and I just write down all the feedback I get in the hopes that maybe I'll implement some of it and make the game even better, right? Yeah. But other than that, I'm pretty much I'm a solo programmer, so it's like, I just kind of have to do most of it myself, or like, because I do like action role-playing games, which is the genre we are developing, so for me, I'm like, oh, if this is not fun and I'm not enjoying it, I'm sure other people won't enjoy it, so it's gotta be a fun game for me to play as well, right? Okay. So with this done, I can just say integer part is going to be 1 value, and then the decimal part can just be the 0.2. So now, if I run it, conversion from okay, so it just wants an explicit narrowing conversion. I probably should have expected as much, so this is going to be, what? Int. Like so. And then the output is now 4970.57, which doesn't sound right. Why is there an extra 0? It should be 497. What? When we can't... Hold on. What? Or is the 0 coming from here? No, that wouldn't make... Wait. Oh, it would. We would have to... So for the decimal part, we actually have to, like... I guess what we would do is we'd manually put the dot, and then we'd put :2, and make the decimal part actually be multiplied by... I guess... It's almost... It's like... Basically, there's a 0, right? So it's like, I have to... If I wanted it to display 2 decimal places, I would multiply it by 100, right? But if I wanted to display more decimal places, I would multiply it by another value. So basically, this 2 has to be whatever this number is to the 10th power. So it would be something like standard pow from 10 to the however many digits, right? We're trying to generalize this so we have a function that lets us print out a specific number of decimal places and all the integer components of a number. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Right now, I'm just finalizing... Whoa. Okay, so all these have to disappear. So I have to get rid of the decimal portion, though, if I do that. So it's going to be like that. And then we don't print any of the decimals, so I just do .0, right? And that should fix that. Okay. Why does it add 8 + 1? I don't want that. That's kind of annoying. I wonder if we can disable, like, the scientific notation part of it. We probably can, right? Either that or I'm going to have to truncate the number. Let me see if it mentions anything about, like, the scientific notation. It looks like it doesn't. I don't see anything else about that in here. I wonder if there's, like... This is like a cheat sheet, but, like, let me look at the actual... Because I know in CppRef, there's a, like... This leads to, like, a formatter that I think is implemented in Python, I want to say. So it's kind of interesting. I forget exactly where it originates from, this, like, format idea. But I think... Okay, so... Standard format specification. Standard format. So, let me read this a little bit. Width and precision. Width is either a positive decimal number or a nested replacement field. Precision is a dot. For floating point file types, this specifies the formatting precision. Okay. I didn't know there was one for string types. It provides an upper bound for the estimated width of the prefix of the string. So what we're doing right now is there's like, in my game, for the wizard class, we are trying to display like the description of an ability, and there are all these like placeholder variables, right? So the idea is that each of these placeholder variables represents a number down here in the config file that gets filled in. Now for some of these, like the firing damage multiplier, it's a multiplier, right? Based on like the player's attack. So we're not going to put that as 1 damage there. That's not really useful to the player. We take that 1 and we multiply by the player's attack and then substitute that in place of this whole tag here. So that the idea is all these damage multipliers represent actual damage values that appear in game. So what I'm trying to accomplish is if I have a tag that is like that's got multiple decimal values, I want to be able to make it so it only displays like 1 decimal value and all the rest of the number. And maybe we just have to say screw it and make the width just really high. Like I don't understand why the width is not working the way I intended. Right? So like, it looks like if it's missing, at least according to this line, it will just write it out. And then if I make the width like 1, it should just work. Like, that should be all we have to do. But it's doing... Okay, so let me go back here and just try this, right? Don't include a width and include only, let's say, 2 decimal places, specifically for only the decimal number. So right now I'm just playing with it to figure out how we want to display it in game. So I have an example project open that's not tied to the game, and then we get this. So I'm like, okay, why do we get this 5E02? It's like, obviously that number represents 500 in scientific notation, but that's not useful. That's not what we're trying to get. Why isn't the 0.2 just like, oh, do we have to include the F? Is that what I've been missing this whole time? Like it thinks it's an integer? F for floating point. Okay. That's annoying. Okay, so that does exactly what I want. I forgot the F. Okay, so now that we know how that works, that's interesting. We'll go back to ability.cpp, understand format, and we'll add the 0.2f, and that should give us exactly what we're looking for. Yay! I'm more used to large game teams. I'm working as a technical QA for backend systems. Cool. Yeah, I've never done game dev in a professional environment, so this is just for fun. And why my project is the way it is, in many ways. But yes. So if I go ahead and I'll let this build in the background. And then in the meantime, we can look at the next class, which is the Thief. And we can start working on its thing. So this has already been taken care of, deals blank damage. I think there was something else that said it like deals blank as well. And I'm like, we need to be consistent and just make everything say like deals, yeah, deals blank to all hit targets. Like it was looking kind of weird because on every other label we put the number followed by damage, so I need to make sure that's a little more consistent. And then we go back here, so then deadly dash to target location, becoming invulnerable and damaging everything in the thief's path. So dash to target location, becoming invulnerable and dealing X damage. Dealing X damage to everything in the thief's path. That sounds okay. Targets on the thief's path? In the thief's way. In the thief's path. Damage to all targets. To all... All targets in line. Yeah, I'll figure out more about this wording. This one's a little weird. It's always coming up with this wording that's a little bit tricky. But this one's just damage again. Damage mult is using the damage variable. Then we have adrenaline rush. Okay, so game's finished compiling. We can go ahead and take a quick peek and make sure the label is now displaying with 2 decimal places for the time. Okay, I just go here. Okay, so now we see here it says damage over 4.00 seconds, which is actually what I'm looking for. So that's great. That's a lot more useful than the 4.000000 I had earlier. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and commit that real quick, because that's just a modification to the... I'm going to unstage thief. Wizard text... Spell text descriptions. Updated. Formatter handles decimals properly now. And this will be release build 13627. Okay. So that's committed. And then back to the thief. So again, 30% increased attack speed and 10% increased movement speed for 8 seconds. Okay. So this is gonna be a number. Attack speed increase. I can just be directly substituted. Then we have 10% increase, which is movement speed increase. And then we have 8 seconds, which is duration. Simple. So that should be thief taken care of. It doesn't really have any weird or special calculations. Oh. Wait. The percentage is included? Oh, because I guess it gets converted to a string. That's interesting. I was not expecting that, honestly, but okay. We can account for that, kind of. I kind of don't want that. I wish I could just not have that happen. That's fascinating. It just uses the string directly. Okay, well... Like, I'm fine with down these two, but then am I gonna have to, like... Like, I don't know if that works. That does work. I think this will actually still convert properly. I think S2I is fine if the rest of this is invalid. At least I hope so. I think that will technically work. Because what the configuration reader does is it does S2I on this. So if S2I does not crash on that string, then we're good. Hi there, Critone. Welcome. Okay. Okay, cool. It doesn't. So that's kind of cool. Kind of. Oh, wait. For roll, we need to adjust it too. I missed that. So roll in a direction and gain increased move speed. So the amount of move speed we can define, right? Because move speed buff. I wonder what happens if we have two. If it's an array. I wonder if it'll just auto take the first value. So like we can put here. Roll in a direction and gain blank % move speed. I wonder if that will just work for X amount of seconds. So actually this needs to be done on the second value. So we might end up making a parser based on like an array, which would be interesting. it would look like this or something. So it'd be like move speed buff, maybe, trying to think here. Maybe like comma 1 or something. That might be an okay syntax for this. I was gonna say maybe we can do this because it would be like array syntax. That could also work. I kind of like that more. But let me see what this actually gives, because, well, I think it'll crash anyways, but I want to see if maybe before I do this, I'm just gonna delete it, and we're gonna see what this gives. Because I assume it's probably gonna get the first index of that array, is my guess. Because I don't remember what happened. So it was... and gain 30 per... oh, it just literally reads the full string. Okay, that's definitely not what I want. Okay, so it probably... So I think the way I want to read this... so let's go back to ability. And... so key value pair. It reads, so it does, if has property, add to description, the, where is it? Add to description, and it provides the data object, right? Add to description. Oh, hold on. Description text add-on was already provided. Yeah, we wrote that last time. So this whole string is taken care of. So special prefixes, this is a function that gets called. If there is no special prefix, then it just, let me see. Separate key, separate value. Separator key. Wait, there is no key value pair. So it should just be the variable, right? It should have been find and parse. It should have ran this find and parse. So it would have done get data on ability settings for the given variable name. Or no, it would have used this one, I think. Which it wouldn't have found an indicator, so it wouldn't have done those. It would have just, if data has property, get property. Ah, I just called get full string here, which I don't think is ideal. I wonder why I did that. So get full string will read it as a whole string regardless if I use commas. When I use commas inside my data file format, it means that it's supposed to be split into multiple elements, like an array. So because of that, I actually wanted to do get string, and this will assume an index of 0. There's an input default value of 0 there. So it would only get the first value, which I think is what I want. I don't actually want it to get the full string. And then if we have multiple values, that's when we can parse it. So yeah, I think I like this better. So we can add a new symbol indicator for array. So for an array, we look for the open bracket character, and then we're going to add a new case for handling that for array. So if we find an open bracket, then let's parse the tokens based on the open bracket, and the index, which is why I'm going to refactor this too. Current project, sure. Okay, it's only in the scope. So the index is now going to be tokens.at1. Now it's going to have the extra, like, closing brace, so I need to do, like, S2I on it, which should ignore the bracket on it. But since it's going to be a string, this needs to be probably a size T. I wonder if there's like an S2U or something. UI? There probably is, right? Let me see. S2I, S2L, S2UL. Okay, that's probably what we want. S2ULL. Okay, I'm pretty sure using an unsigned long would be our best choice there. But yeah. Living in Hole, thanks for the follow. Okay, so now we're going to say if data has property, so separator key, we're going to parse based on that. But then what do we add here to the description? So we're going to grab the specific value, and that specific value is just going to be the string in here that we're just going to parse with whatever. So it's going to be like data get property, separator key, get string, and then the index. I believe we should be good. Also, Ilya, thank you for the follow as well. Okay. I think that's it. I'm gonna change the error message. So open, I'm gonna put that. Variable syntax only allows 2 arguments. Example, key, index, and then arguments found. Not find a translation function. So we should need a translation function for this. That's not how this one works. So that can go away. And we should be good. So if I go back to Thief, I can now try to use that syntax I was hoping to use. And if I want to take it a step further, I should be able to use movement speed buff 0 here as well. Although it should be implicit. And maybe that's what I want to do, is make it so if we don't use the array syntax, it uses the full string. Maybe that should be a feature. Because maybe we relied on that behavior already in some other descriptions and now they're messed up? That's entirely possible, and maybe we should keep the old behavior. I have to think about it. Which one I would prefer? Okay, so in Thief, it looks like it crashed, so let's see why. So it tried to find the movement speed buff with the bracket 0, and it could not find it. So it's like, it doesn't know what that variable is. That was reported by get description with player modifiers lambda. In here, parse variables. So why was parse variables called? Line 199 says the new description is parse variables, which takes, and then it tries to find and parse. And if it can't, so what's the difference between this parse variables and then the parse variables for enchant, right? Because it's like, why is it different? That's what I want to know. Because, like, it shouldn't be, right? If it can find the ability... Oh, okay, wait. So we're trying to parse it without the whole, like, bracket syntax thing, which is not what we want, because... Let's see. So it somehow didn't detect the... Oh, okay. So we have to modify 2 places when we do this. I wonder if we can fix that. I think we could, because it's kind of annoying that if I want to add something to this enum, I have to add a new case statement and I have to add a new else statement. So maybe we can automate this a little better. What if we make a map that just contains symbol to enum, and that way we can just run a for loop to check for these? I think that would be better. That makes more sense to me. So I'm going to do a new standard Safe unordered map. Or not standard. I'm gonna do a new safe unordered map. I think that's what I called it. Did I call it maybe util safe unordered map? I think I just called it safe unordered map. Safe map is what? Oh. Why'd it go way over there? Yeah, I just put in the global namespace. So include. I would think this would already be included. I'm surprised it's not. So include safe unordered map. And then, oh, you know what? It's a template, right? So it probably just wasn't registered. Okay, so we need to specify like a char to a, what is this? A symbol indicator. And then that represents the symbols that we can parse. So like symbol, recognized symbols. Okay. It doesn't know what this is still. Oh, there's no underscore. Okay, interesting. So under recognized symbols, we can initialize it. I think we can initialize it. I don't think I've actually tried that before. I don't think I gave it a constructor. Yeah, I'm not seeing a constructor here, which is interesting. Do I want to add a constructor right now? Not really. Okay, so here's what we'll do instead. I will go ahead and add each symbol by just adding a new element like this. And saying they're equal to each of these values, right? I can even go one step further and just put these all in an array, organized together, and then set them that way. No, this is fine, I think. And then I don't have to actually worry about copy pasting this. I can just adjust these and it will handle that for me. Instead of copy pasting this logic block every time. So for char C inside of recognized symbols, I think we're gonna have to destructure it. So we auto C comma symbol or indicator in recognized symbols. I'm surprised. Is there not a type has no components to bind to? Wait, what does that mean? Has no components to bind to. It should be under... Is it IntelliSense just being slow? Because I added it. Hi there, Ripper Junkie. Welcome. Okay. And then we would just check this for this logic statement, right? If we find that character, then we go ahead and set the indicator equal to... Oh, hold on. I'm using that variable name already. So this can be like... symbol indicator. Okay. Yeah, that way I can set indicator equal to symbol indicator. Like so. And then I think we just return if we find one. We shouldn't be trying to do multiple. So we can return, or not return, break out this for loop. Okay. It's still complaining about this, which I'm not sure why. Maybe safe unordered map doesn't have an iterator? I feel like I've added one. Begin. There is a begin, so that should be fine. Why are there two? Oh, one's const. Hi Amy, glad to catch your stream again. Yeah, of course. Glad to see y'all. I'm gonna have to call it soon. I know, like, I just started streaming, but like, I started pretty late today. Had other errands to run. But let me see if I can get this resolved real quick before we go. Let's see what compiler says. Maybe it'll be more obvious what is wrong. Because this is a char and a symbol indicator enum, which I don't think is a problem. Initializers of structured bindings must be of array or non-union class type. Type symbol indicator is not permitted. So, because it's a local enum? Like, if I were to make it... I feel like that... I don't get why that must be of array or non-union class type. Can I make it an enum class? Will that make it happy? I don't know if that will make it happy. I feel like it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't seem to like this for some reason. Which is strange, because I thought it would just kind of work using enum symbol indicator. Yeah, I don't... I feel like I should be able to use that. That's kind of weird. At least one would think. I wonder if I can use a standard unordered map with this. Okay, so it looks like it's something wrong with the implementation of the safe unordered map, because this one's fine. I wonder what I did wrong. Oh, you know what? This iterator is for each element in the vector, because it's unordered. I forgot that's the, like, hidden implementation detail of symbol or safe unordered maps. Is the iterator returns a single thing. So it actually returns, in this case, I think... It returns the values, not the keys. So I would end up getting symbol indicator here, but then I would have to do, like... recognize symbols on each Like, this doesn't help me, right? It's kind of weird, because I need access to both values. It's kind of strange. Huh. Yeah, because the way a safe unordered map works is it actually has a vector of items and a map that points each element or each key to an index into the vector, because if the vector resizes, then that would be a problem. So yeah, I actually can't use this data structure the way I wanted to, so I'm just gonna change it to I assume a safe map might be fine because it actually does what I need it to do. So then I can go C comma symbol indicator, and that should be fine, because internally it stores it as key value. Yeah, I wrote safe unordered map, that's why. So you probably haven't used it before for that reason. And then after I've written these, I'm going to go ahead and lock it. So, or set initialized. Yeah. So the whole point, the whole concept of safe map is that I can use the array syntax to write values to, and then I can lock the map, and then I can no longer use the array syntax for writing, only reading. So if I try to do this, this actually is a runtime error. So that's a runtime error now, if I try to do that. But if I just use it as a value like this, then it's fine, because it's just getting the value. So it still allows me to use the, I guess, bracket syntax without the risk of accidentally overwriting the value in some future part of the code by accident. So it's basically being explicit with saying, hey, I'm not allowed to modify this array or this map anymore. Yeah. So anyways, that fixes that, which means now that we've added this, it should be able to parse this, and we should be good. That should functionally be the same thing as that if statement, but I don't have to copy the if statement. I just add to this map. Ideally, I write a constructor, just like an actual map constructor, that lets us handle specifying a list of elements to initialize with. So I need to actually implement the constructor for that for my safe map class next time. So hopefully we end up seeing the array elements parsed now. And it looks like we do. So it parses 30% by itself and then 2 seconds over here. Which means I think we can go back to safely saying the variable that gets parsed up here instead of getString, we can make it back to its original behavior of getFullString. And I think I'm happy with that for now. So that is the added or implemented new description text or description variable text for thief. Cool. So yeah, that's fun. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it today. Very short stream, but got a little bit of stuff done. Made the parsing system even more flexible, which is always great. A little to do also for next time is add a constructor for my safe map class. So I will handle that next stream, which should be on Monday. Or maybe I'll do over the weekend if I get some time to do add constructor for safe maps. Because that is my class, so it didn't come with it by default. Alright, well, that's gonna be it for today. For those of you that tuned in, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we're gonna see you all next time. Thank you, you too. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye!